Hey there, and welcome to another Content Capitalist Podcast recap. I really love this episode because this is one of the favorite human beings in the world. This is a good friend of mine and somebody who I really got started with when it came to video marketing. Now, I'd worked with a lot of people before, but this was one of the people who I was willing to travel all the way to the other side of the world for just to do one shoot because that's how much of a friend he is to me. Now, a lot of people, like this guy's an entrepreneur, through and through, entrepreneur, but a lot of people would be really happy to get, 30 employees and be doing like $3 million. But there are some cases where it just doesn't make sense. So we're going to unpack the story in just a little bit of how Jason grew a hair salon and consulting business all the way up and then decided to go a different direction.
The Content Capitalist Podcast.
Yeah, dude. So here's my story on giving people advice. That wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't want to give people advice. And in fact, I think that most coaches screw this one up is that they want to give everybody their advice. And that's not what this job is about. That's not what this business is about. I had a partner a long time ago. When I first started working with him, he said, man, I have so much life experience. I want to share with everybody my message. And I have such a great story to tell others. And that wasn't my story. And I think what ends up happening is that people think that people come to you and listen to you because you have something great to say. And it's not because you have something great to say or you've been through some amazing life lesson. It's because you've got something great to give them. And that's very different. Is telling people your story is not the same as giving people a forum or giving people a voice or giving them a mission to take on. That's why I said, we elevate the world's perception of salon spa industry. I give the voiceless a voice. Instead of I tell them my story and why it'll make their life different. Going back on my story, when I first got into this, I actually bought a franchise. I was working for somebody else. I had taken a company from $300,000 a year, 3 employees, to $1.7 million in the matter of a couple of years. And I was their employee who helped make that happen. And we went from 3 employees to 30 employees. And to be really honest, I got really scared because I'm like, I don't know what to do with 30 employees, dog. I have no clue what to do with that. I decided to open a franchise because I was like, you know what? I know how to sell. I know how to deliver value, but I honestly didn't really know the intricacies of running a business. And so I thought if I bought a franchise, I would do much better.
When you're growing your business, a lot of times you're going to have to raise capital, and the easiest place to raise capital is among your friends and family. And probably the easiest person that you can sweet talk into handing you some money might be your grandma, because she's the one who's got that special spot for you. So that's exactly what Jason did. And he actually didn't borrow just $1 or $10 or $100. It was a whole lot more. And you're about to find out here.
How much did it cost to get into that franchise?
I borrowed $150,000 from my grandma. I called my grandma up and I pitched my grandma hard. And I said, Grandma, I want to do this thing. It was going to cost me $100,000 to buy the franchise. And I thought $50,000 would give me enough of an on-ramp. This was what I thought at the time, that 6 months of on-ramp would allow me to get back up to my income level. At the time I was making about, I was thinking I was just shy of about $200,000 a year in my income as a salesperson before. And I thought in 6 months, I'll be able to rebuild all that income and I'll be back to it. And it took me almost 5 years to rebuild that income, if I'm really honest. It did. I kicked my butt.
Real talk here. One of the toughest things to do as a business owner is that you've already made a decision and you're going down a certain path and you're committed to it, but then deep inside you're going the wrong direction. And it's really tough to be able to admit that to yourself, cut your losses, lose a bunch of money, disappoint the people around you in order to correct course. And Jason's going to talk a bit about that here. And if you're facing this kind of situation in your business or your life, then this section is for you. You're going to want to watch it.
It's been about 5 years in that franchise. And I just was like, dude, this is not doing it for me. The business model was wrong. Oh, well, I should say this. I mentioned to you that I didn't want to get in this business, right?
Yeah.
I was trying to sell other people into it. And then when I realized nobody would buy a franchise where nobody was making money, I said, then I'm going to have to be a business coach. I'm going to actually roll in my sleeves, get the job done, and figure this thing out. And that's how I became a business coach. I was like, I got to pay the bills. My wife was working full time. She was paying all the bills. And I'm like, I can't let my wife be the person who's paying for me to run a business that I borrowed $150,000 for. I have a, whatever it was, $4,000 a month payment. And that was part of why that money didn't go anywhere, paying $4 or $5 grand a month towards paying my bill down. So I became a business coach out of necessity. And I signed my very first ever coaching client. I will never forget. I signed Norm and Jody the same week, and they were both $1,500 a month contracts that I gave them a deal on their first 3 months for $750. I'm like, please pay me. And I joined a BNI group, and somehow those two people decided to pay me in the same month. And I was like, well, that was like, okay, I can survive.
When I was full-time doing video creation, creating ads and stuff, I had so many people ask me, Ken, could you make this look amazing like a Red Bull ad or like Apple ad and stuff? And here's the thing. there's an old saying, you can't polish a turd. And what that means is if you're not already doing cool stuff, then it's really hard to make a video about a not cool thing and make it look cool. The easiest way, the best way to make really cool content is to do really cool stuff. So if you're having that problem, watch this next session and see how Jason solved that problem once and for all in his own business.
Did you already start producing any content publicly on social media, or did that come
Yes.
later? Okay, tell me about your first attempt.
Yeah, dude. I've been on stage since I was 12 years old. People are always like, Jason, you're comfortable on camera. I've been filming myself. Literally, my parents had a camcorder when I was about 5 and 6 years old. And my brother and I used to set up the camcorder in front of our television and we went on camera all the time. So being on camera wasn't weird to me. When I started with the franchise was called Sales Partners, when I started with that business, I was like, you guys don't do video. We should do video. And this is like circa 2008, where like YouTube was kind of just barely getting started, all this stuff. So I have some of my early YouTube videos, but like, you know, here I am on camera. I'm pale as hell because I'm using the worst camera on planet Earth. I'm like 100 miles away from the screen. I'm like, hi, this is Jason, and you need to come to my workshop and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like full of fireball energy because I'm nervous and it's weird and nobody knows about this YouTube thing and like all this stuff is going on. But what was cool is I was shooting video and like, I would say brave enough to shoot video before video was like a thing. Now it's like everybody's a YouTuber and they're rolling out their cameras and like, oh, I'm a blogger. Like that was not a thing. And so I'd go to the local chamber of commerce and they'd invite me because I knew I'd shoot a video for them. This is actually probably one of the biggest things. If you're uncomfortable on camera, start doing this. Start shooting video testimonials for people. I used to film video testimonials of people saying good things about me, but I would always trade them in exchange. And I would shoot a video testimonial for them. And people would use my video testimonials everywhere because they're like, geez, Jason has a lot of energy. He's excited. He says good things. He always talks about money and like what, like the benefit that it was. And like, that's really what got me on cameras. My first couple of things was A, I was a lot of energy, but B, I would shoot video testimonials when nobody else was using them. So that was kind of the beginning.
And you did that for me too.
Yeah, that's how we met. I would just do a video.
And when you came to speak at the event in Japan, where it was not my event, it was somebody else's, I was shooting everybody's testimonials and we just shared them with all the speakers. Remember that?
100%.
That's kind of similar. Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. When was the first time you remember doing your own content on your own channels to promote your business?
My own content on my own channels. I started with recap videos. You've seen a lot of my stuff. We do big events. Like I do these things called high octane adventures and then these once in a lifetime adventure trips. And they come with a recap. We could take people like flying stunt planes, you know, driving tanks and crushing cars, rally car racing. I just got back last week. So anyway, the reason why I say that stuff is that I'll never forget. I went hot air ballooning with some friends of mine. And we went hot air ballooning in Napa, California. And I shot video while I was there because I just shoot video and I create content. And we finished, and a week later, I put this video out online, and you could probably go look up Jason Everett's Napa Valley trip, and you'd probably find it. And I remember my friends said, they're like, damn, hanging out with you, it comes with a recap video? Like, I'll hang out with you anytime if it comes with a recap video. And to be really honest, Ken, that's what kind of snapped for me is I was like, what if when I do an event, I put together a really killer recap video? It's got great testimonials. What would happen? And so what started happening is that's really the first pieces of content. Before I did vlogging, before I did all that stuff, I started doing recap videos and I started really just like showing people what I was doing. And I'm like, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of energy and people like it and they're getting value out of it. And they're saying, I came to Jason's event and I found a way to add $10,000 to my business. And then people were like, I want to go to Jason's event. So that was one. Was recap videos. That was the first thing. I think in terms of when I set up an event, like we have an event coming up in 3 weeks. We have an event coming up in 3 weeks. And I'm like, okay, not only do I think of planning the content and all that stuff, but I'm like, how's this going to look on film? Because we're talking about like putting these, not giving anything away, but like we're putting these big balloons up. We're doing all this stuff to add some height and elevation. And we have like lighting and all this stuff that'll make it really dynamic because I'm literally thinking, how can I make this thing look as visually appealing as possible? Yeah. Maybe you've seen my recap videos where we did one where we made everybody make duct tape night costumes. And then we did this whole battle scene in the beach. You know, we like stormed the beach. And then we did one where we made like duct tape boats when we were in New Orleans and had them like paddle across the pool in boats. And I'm like, that's what makes our recap video. I mean, that's only an hour of a 3-day conference, but like people remember that stuff forever.
Yes,
because we make memorable moments that stand out on camera and people love the energy. They love the excitement, but we're like summer camp on steroids for adults. That's the idea. And they leave with business value that turns into money when they get back. And that's the difference for us.
Hey there, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of this podcast recap with Jason Everett. Now, you know what to do right here. There's going to be a link to watch the full-length 1-hour in-depth interview if you don't have time to just glue your eyes to the video, click down below. There's going to be links to the podcast so you can listen while you're driving, while you're working out, or whatever the heck else you're doing. Other than that, I will see you next time.